Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. My name is Scott Douglas. I'm Director of Operations for Dr. Jamnadas' clinic. You won't hear a whole lot about the practice tonight because this lecture is about information. Those of you who've been to these before know that they're a lot of fun as well as informative. I want to give some special thanks before we start. Special thanks starting with our Medtronic rep, Dan Mayer. And Medtronic provided all of the goodies and beverages for us tonight. And I want to say thank you, Dan. Thank you very much. These are our partners in medical practice. And they supply a lot of the equipment that's used. And special thanks to Jiten Kapadia. He is our technical guru here who has got us live streaming on Facebook for the first time on a trial basis and has also helped out immensely getting this crowd here. So if you were contacted through whether it be social media, email, or coming by the office, Jiten had a big hand in getting all of that information out there. And again, thank you, Jiten. Earlier, you saw an attractive young lady here that was letting you know the food's ready. Karina Walker is a new addition to CBI. She's our nutritional counselor. She has a master's degree. Karina, just stand up and wave to everybody here. So we'll be offering nutritional counseling at our clinic. And Doc will tell you more about that possibly sometime in the future. And Regine Philemon, if you'll just wave. Regine, I don't know where you're sitting. Regine is a nurse practitioner in our office. Some of you may already know her. And Jennifer Mills. She's on call and with us tonight. She's in the back, so when the phone rings, you get it. And Amber Buzzy, are you out there? I'm just gonna. She's been a PA, a student that's been following us, coming up to her graduation soon, and you may see more of her in the future. Did I miss anyone there? Francisco Turnias. If you know Francisco, you know that he does anything and everything necessary to make things happen for CBI, Dr. Jamnadas. And so, are the snacks good? Was that okay? Heart healthy and healthy food is what this is all about. And so, finding a place that you can procure that kind of food does present a bit of a challenge. But really, we're really happy that we were able to get Zoe's, I think, was the location that came from. So without further ado, I'm going to pass this microphone to who you came here to hear speak. Okay, I'm very proud to be a part of his organization. Dr. Pradip Jamnadas.
All right, good evening, everybody. And thank you for coming out. I know it's really busy and I was crazy and I really appreciate it. So what are we going to do today? We're going to talk about what you don't eat is going to kill you. Wait a second. It should be what you eat is going to kill you want to know about. I want to know about all the things that I'm going to eat that's going to kill me. I'm going to talk about that also. But I thought this was an intriguing topic. So I want you to avoid all the things that's going to kill you. So in the past, I've talked generally, but today I'm going to get very specific. First and foremost, don't think it's your genes that are going to kill you. It is your lifestyle that's going to get you prematurely. Your lifestyle diseases are coronary artery disease, diabetes, obesity, sleep apnea, cancer, and COPD. These are lifestyle. You've earned it. If you've got any of these, you earned it. Now, if you got run over, that's bad luck. But if you got any of these, you earned it because it's lifestyle. It's my lifestyle. Well, here you go. And this is distressing because for the first time, our lifespan is actually getting shorter because of our lifestyle. We are living longer because we're going through childhood diseases and surviving through childhood diseases. And our infant mortality rate has increased. Don't think that we're living longer because of medicine only or everything else. We're not getting dysentery. We're not getting eaten by the saber-toothed tiger. So the first thing I want to say is that don't blame your genes when you have a problem. Let's get that out of the way. Oh, it's genetic. It's not genetic. In Families that have problems is because they probably live the same way, they eat the same way, and they behave the same way. That's why they get the same diseases. Twin studies have clearly demonstrated that twins separated at birth in different countries, eating different diets, get different incidence of heart disease as well, and stroke, and blood pressure. Japanese men who migrate to the United States of America, they get the diseases of the United States of America. They go back to Japan, and the mortality again goes down. Cancer rates go down in the stomach, blood pressures also go down, myocardial infarctions are 1/5 what they are in the United States. Same genes, they haven't changed. This brings me to epigenetics. Epigenetics means that your genes are changing every day. After tonight's lecture, some of your genes will change. Because you're going to think differently. And hopefully you're going to eat differently. And you're going to behave differently. And your environment is going to change. Your genes will change. And these studies have been done. The genetic material is very pliable. That's how we evolve. That's how we can also pass on those beneficial genes. So you're a very pliable human being. Your brain is pliable, but your genetic material is also extremely pliable. I want you to know that. So all this pandemic now of these diseases that we are having now has come about because of two things. One, we have changed our diets to processed foods. Number two, because of the introduction of predominantly animal-based proteins and food. So if we look back, we had meat in our diet, but not as much as we have today. We had chicken, we had poultry, but it was an occasional treat. And these people who come around saying, oh, I'm on a paleo diet, I only eat chicken for lunch, chicken for dinner. Well, excuse me, your Paleolithic human being used to probably eat meat only once every 14 days when he managed to catch a chicken. And the rest of the time he was eating berries and fruits and vegetables that he could just forage around. The point is that we take things too extreme here, we say, oh, it's fashion, paleo diet. I'm a paleo diet, I'm a paleo diet. And you will lose weight. There is no doubt. Look, I'm going to say one thing, start right off today. You talk about the paleo diet, and then you talk about the South Beach diet, and then you talk about this diet and that, and name it, whatever you want, or even Atkins diet. You will lose weight with all of them. And what do they all have in common? What do they all really have in common? Restriction in calories, but what else? It's going to be processed foods. If you eliminate the processed foods, then you will lose weight. So let's talk more about that in a second here. In China, they did a huge study. And in China, there's no shortage of people, there's billions of Americans, right? So their studies had millions of people in them. Therefore, the statistical power is very high. So that's the place you want to do dietary studies on. So they studied people and they saw that people in the rural areas versus the cities, dramatic difference in these lifestyle diseases, diabetes, hypertension, obesity, sleep apnea, and cancer. And they found that those who were in the rural areas were predominantly vegetarian. They had 146% reduced rate of coronary artery disease, 152% reduced rate of CVA, 160 of diabetes, 231 diabetes, and obesity. What I'm saying here is that there's a huge difference in the people who are eating meat once a week. Eating meat even once a week in that study, the China study, there's a book written on it by Dr. Campbell. Read it, pick it up. It's called the China study. Meat even once a week increased your risk of diabetes, coronary artery disease, CVA, obesity. In India, the incidence of coronary artery disease is lower when they change from brown rice to white rice. White rice increases your blood sugar. White rice causes diabetes. You don't get nutrients because you get rid of all that nice brown stuff which contains all the vitamins in it. Also, they move to processed foods. You go to India now, everything's packaged. Everything's in boxes. You go to the Indian store here, they have lines and lines of boxes. Dead food in a box. It's got no vibrational frequency. So they stop eating fresh fruits and vegetables, especially vegetables. What do I mean by vibrational frequency? Vibrational frequency means when you look at a food, it better be alive. That means you put it in this special machine and it vibrates at a certain frequency.
So the vibrational frequency of spinach is about 130, blueberries 90. The vibrational frequency of a meat pate from one of the fast food places is about 10. A cookie is about 20. A slice of bread is about 20. So no vibrational frequency. It's dead. And that's why if we leave it there, it'll stay the way it is, because it's dead. But if you take something that's still alive and you leave it there, it's going to go rotten. It'll get bad quickly. You want the stuff that's still alive and it's going to turn bad. If something's going to turn bad, eat it before it turns bad. So we need to go back to eating whole foods. So if you look in India also, India, by the way, right now has the highest instance of coronary artery disease in the world. They've taken over because we are eating mostly processed foods now. More processed foods means more disease. So here in the United States, 32% of our calories come from an animal source. 32% of your calories are coming from an animal source. It used to be less than 10. 57% of your calories today are coming from processed foods, whether you like it or not. More than half your calories are coming from processed foods. Then you wonder why we're earning all these diseases. And only 11% of your calories today are coming from whole foods. Whole foods. I mean, not been processed. Processed foods means they churned it, they cut it, and then mashed it up, and then they made some powder of it, and then reconstituted it. It's artificial food, it's man-made, it was made in a factory. That's processed food. You process it in a factory, you remake it into something else. It doesn't look like it did when it came out of the ground or the tree or the shrub. You want to eat the food the way it looked on the tree, the way it looked on the shrub, the way it came out of the ground. And then you take it, you cook it, you eat it, and now you've got yourself a whole food. The difference between whole food and processed foods. Processed food wasn't made for you, it was for convenience. So that you can put it in your refrigerator, or you can put it on your shelf, in your pantry, so that you don't have to shop for another week. We've become lazy. We don't want to go shopping every day. We don't want to go to the farmer's market every day. We want the convenience of going shopping once a week, or some people even shop every 2 weeks. So obviously you're going to buy processed foods. Get rid of everything that comes in a box. My saying in my office always is, if it's got a barcode on it, don't eat it. If it's got a barcode on it. And then I'm going to talk about reading labels. And you need to know about labels. Because whether I like it or not, you're going to buy something in a box and it's going to have a label on it. So I'm going to teach you how to read a label tonight. Or we'll talk about it a little bit. I mean, I have too much to talk about tonight. But you know what? If you just eat whole foods, you don't need a label, and you don't need to read a label. Because vegetables don't come with labels on it. Yeah? They're just vegetables. You just go and you buy it. And you eat it. So, the simple 7, the American College of Cardiology, the American Heart Association said, okay, let's make it easy. We're going to tell people they must consume the simple 7. The simple 7 was very simple. It said, okay, you've got to walk about you've got to walk about 1,200 steps minimum, which is not much. Fruits and vegetables, you must have 5 servings. Your cholesterol must be normal, your blood pressure must be normal, your blood sugar must be normal. So they said, let's do this. They went out and they did a study. They took 2,000 random people. 1% was at goal. 1%. That's how bad we are. And this was supposed to be a simple 7. There's nothing simple about changing your diet, because that's the way your mom taught you, that's the way your dad taught you, that's your brothers and sisters, your uncles and aunts, and of course that's society, that's how we go out, that's how we eat, we go to restaurants, we eat out most of the time. It's become a lifestyle. It's become a lifestyle not because you really chose it, because society chose it. And society only chose it because of the media, because they glorified it and they made it very romantic. But they did it so that you go out there and spend your money there. They didn't do it for your benefit. They did it for your convenience maybe, but they really wanted your dollars. And then what they add in that food in the restaurants is all to their benefit. I mean, there's so many horror stories I can tell you about things that are added to foods, not because they're of any benefit to you, but because they're going to taste better, you're going to eat more, you're going to get addicted to it. manipulating your brain physiology, down from the packaging to the actual contents. To the even packaging, there's a science behind it. When you see that same packaging all the time, or you see that restaurant with the same type of decor all the time, with the same signs, you become Pavlovian dogs. Because you see the same pattern over and over again, so you get used to it. Just like when you get into your car, you don't think about it. You put it into reverse, you look in the rear mirror, you're gone. You don't think about it consciously. Same way, when it comes to lunchtime, you're going to drive to that same place, you're going to get out, you're going to order the same menu, there's familiarity, you think about something else, you're ordering your stuff. There's a science behind why they do that. There's a science behind the ingredients in it as well. Sugar, huge one, and salt. Because they actually cause addiction in the brain. So since we talked about that, I'll come to sugar in a second. But these are actual properties, these are addiction additions that are put into the food. So you get addicted to that food because you like it, and you are being manipulated every day. You are all a huge experiment by an industry that is benefiting. But you all are here today because you are smarter, and you're going to change, and you're going to go out and research on your own. You're not going to take my word for it. You're going to read everything. You're going to check on everything. We have to do this. So, if only 1% of the people can get to the simple 7, the calculations were that if we got to that simple 7, there will be a 78% reduction in all chronic diseases, including all chronic diseases. There's a 50% reduction in strokes, heart attacks, and a 60% reduction in cancer. So I'm not just talking about coronary disease, I'm talking about cancer as well. Because you should be scared about a couple of things. Alzheimer's disease, dementia, you should be scared about cancer, and you should be scared about strokes. Because if you get a heart attack, I'm going to be there, I'll fix it. But these other 3, sorry, adios. So you also want to live longer and healthier. You want to live longer. So what makes you live longer is your telomeres, right? You've heard about telomeres, right? Telomeres or telomeres. They are the ends of your chromosomes, and what happens every time a cell divides, it clips off a little bit of it. It's like a fuse, clips off it. Every time it divides, and when it comes to the end of that fuse, now that cell cannot divide anymore, and it dies. So what can we do to prolong those telomeres? Well, first of all, we know that people who live the longest have long telomeres. And the populations that have long telomeres live longer. We know that. So how can we preserve these telomeres? Well, we found that we can actually do it. And we found this in a tree that grows about 4,000 years old. And we found the telomeres. And now we know that what shortens telomeres are soda drinks, and this has been done in animal studies and in human studies. They take your cells, they put sodas around it, and then they see what happens to your telomeres. Soda, meat, fish, dairy, and refined grains. Refined grains, that means bread. They all shorten your telomeres. What makes your telomeres longer and prevents them from becoming smaller are fruits, vegetables, and foods that are rich in antioxidants. Must remember this word, antioxidants. What do we mean by antioxidants? Antioxidants are things that prevent oxidation. So as we are alive, every reaction that occurs in our body produces free radicals, oxygen-free radicals. They cause a lot of damage. So we need free radical scavengers to scavenge them up so that they don't destroy our cells, because they cause mitochondrial damage, they cause DNA damage. So these free radicals, you need to scavenge them up. And the way you do it is by eating foods that are rich in antioxidants. So you need to go out and research foods that are rich in antioxidants. And I'm going to tell you right now, the best foods are, of course, vegetables, but the spices. If you guys don't know how to eat spicy food, you better learn how to eat spicy food. Saffron, cinnamon, nutmeg. They're full of antioxidants, okay? And then you can look at the garnishes that you put. For example, cilantro, marjoram, parsley. All these are extremely rich in antioxidants. So you got to become a culinary expert. You're gonna add all these to your foods. There's a reason why we do that, and we add it to the foods, because they have antioxidants. Because one of the things that creates a lot of free radicals in your body is eating. Eating is dangerous. The stomach and the intestines are what's going to determine the difference between the outside and you. And that intestinal lining is what's making all the decisions. You're putting all the food in there. The food and its metabolism is going to create free radicals, and you need scavengers. You need that in your food as well. So, the NIH studies demonstrated that in a 3-month period, humans, this was done on humans, the NIH, in 3 months, vegetarian diet increased telomeres. Dean Ornish and Dr. Blackburn, also at the NIH, showed that with no weight loss, minimal exercise, okay, but changing the quality of the food increased the telomeres. Also, the same group found that vegetables change the oncogenes. Oncogenes are some of your genes that predict cancer. And they took prostate cancer patients. And Dean Ornish's group showed that in a 5-month period, this was called the Geminal study, showed that oncogene expression was reduced by more than 50%. Just by changing the diet, going on to a pure vegetarian diet. All right, so now let's talk about some biochemistry, since we talked about sugar. Now this might bore you a little bit, but just bear with me a little bit, because this is very important. If you eat glucose, glucose is natural. It's found in lots of things, as you know. 80% of your glucose, when you eat it, is going to go to your muscles, and in your bowels, and your brain, and all over, and it's going to get metabolized. Only 20% goes to the liver. And in your liver, the insulin will allow the glucose to get into the liver, and then it gets metabolized to glycogen. Glycogen is the storage product of glucose. It's natural, it's good, that's why sprinters, they load up on glucose so that the glycogen stores are high in the muscles and in the liver, so when they start exercising, the glycogen can go to glucose. Nothing wrong with that, right? Is there stress on your liver? Not really, because 20% gets to the liver, 80% gets to your body. But when you take too much glucose, then the citric acid cycle in the liver will start producing fat, free fatty acids. So what am I saying? Glucose becomes fat? Yes, even glucose does. But a small amount of it, usually about 5% at most, will become free fatty acids by the liver, and then will go into your bloodstream and then get deposited in your fat stores, which will be in your visceral fat, other fat, and also inside your muscles. And if you eat too much of it, then that's going to cause insulin resistance, which I'll talk about in a second. Now let's talk about another sugar, alcohol. Alcohol, you ingest it, is the reverse. 20% goes to your body, about 10% goes to your brain, that's why you feel it, whoa, 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 I drank. But 80% goes to your liver. Alcohol is not needed, it's not a natural thing, so the body treats it like a real toxin. So the liver basically converts it, it takes it into the citric acid cycle, and it produces a lot of citric acid, and the citric acid in your liver produces free fatty acids, which is LDL and VLDL, and produces fats. So you drink alcohol, you're going to get fat. You're going to get fat cells. But this is alcohol, you get converted to fat. Also, the aldehyde produces free radicals. So it causes damage, cancer, and you age faster. Okay. The increased free fatty acids, I told you, the fat, will go into all the muscles and into your liver and cause a fatty liver. You've heard of a fatty liver? Fatty liver from alcohol, fatty liver from glucose. Gets into that and causes insulin resistance. When there's too much fat cells in the muscles or in the liver, the insulin receptor is deformed and doesn't respond to insulin anymore. So you become a diabetic. You drink too much alcohol, you become diabetic. You have too much sugar, you become diabetic. But now, Let's talk about another one called fructose. Now everyone thinks fructose is okay. But first and foremost, fructose is not needed, and fructose has no other metabolism except the liver. So it's sounding awfully like alcohol, right? Fructose is metabolized in your liver like alcohol. So you give fructose drink to your kid, you might as well give him alcohol. It's metabolized the same way. There's a doctor, Dr. Robert Lustig, L-U-S-T-I-G. He's at the University of California. He's a pediatrician professor. He says that we're going to have the biggest epidemic of liver disease coming up because kids are eating all these, drinking all these fructose-rich drinks. So what happens to fructose? Fructose goes into the pyruvic acid cycle in your liver and goes to the mitochondria. The mitochondria, they produce acetate and then lots and lots of citrate. The citrate then produces fat. The fat gets deposited in your liver, so you get non-alcoholic fatty deposition in your liver, and then causes insulin resistance in the patient. This causes obesity. Hence, you have your childhood obesity that's going on today. It's from too much fructose. It is the kids. He does MRIs of the liver, and you can see the whole liver is gray and black instead of its normal color, because this is fructose toxicity. And all of us in this room are guilty of it also, because the body is not supposed to be consuming so much fructose. It's supposed to be consuming glucose. So sugar, what is sugar? Plain sugar is glucose plus fructose. So you're getting a double dose of fructose. You're getting it because you're drinking drinks that are full of fructose, and you're also getting too much sugar in your diet. So you are all fructose toxic. Fructose toxicity in children, we're going to pay very dearly for this. We're already paying dearly ourselves. So this causes insulin resistance, which then causes diabetes, causes obesity, and then obesity leads to a whole bunch of other things. So a teaspoon of sugar is 4 grams, and each gram has 4 calories. So it's a moderate amount of calories. Now, 4 grams is 1 teaspoon, right? So you look at a label and it says, and this is right, you go tomorrow morning, you pick up your cereal, take a look at the cereal box. You'll have 23 grams on it. 20 grams. That means 5 teaspoons of sugar. Now, are you going to take 5 teaspoons of sugar and put it in your bowl? These sugars are hidden. They're hidden from you. You don't know about it. But there's sugar in everything today, and that's causing a major health problem. You all need to wake up. This is going to kill us. We're dying from sugar toxicity, not fat toxicity. Indirectly, it comes to fat, but it starts with the sugar. We never consumed so much sugar before. Let's talk about that. The average person, hopefully we're not that average, but we're better than average here, consumes 82 grams of sugar a day. That's 20 teaspoons of sugar. It's preposterous. So I'm telling you, go on, do it. 20 teaspoons. You're going to say I'm crazy? No, we are crazy. The WHO has said we should be consuming no more than 25 grams of sugar a day. The American College of Cardiology says that for a male it's 25 grams, for female it's 25 grams, and for a male 38 grams. So if you're a female, 25 grams, that's divided by 4, so it's about 6 teaspoons of sugar a day max. 24 grams. That means you go out and take 1 granola bar, you're done. You're done, no more sugar. But then, no, I am going to go and eat a yogurt, a low-fat yogurt, I'm so healthy. You just blew it, 28 grams, right there. You know the numbers now. I've given you the numbers. Remember, 25 grams a day. That's in 1 serving of yogurt you already finished. But then you get up in the morning, you eat, I'm so good, you make a little cereal, you have that, and you already blew it right there. Then you go ahead and have some lunch, you already blew it down there because you were so healthy, you had some yogurt instead. And then dinner comes around. Sugar today is going to be what tobacco has been. But it took how many years before the tobacco information seeped into reality and people started paying attention and changing the rules and regulations on on tobacco? 60 years. We about it. So when are we going to wake up about sugar? We have about another 30 years to go. How many generations are we going to poison? Just the same way, last time I was looking at this thing on TV, it was The Crown, where Edward VI is dying, and they took out his lung, and he lived for about a year after that. And when he was talking to everybody, he was still smoking. Because they didn't know at that time. It's crazy. Well, actually they knew, but that was the beginning of it. So the same thing we're doing right now. He had the surgery not knowing that he was smoking. That's why you're causing all this lung cancer. It's a huge problem. So that brings me now, so you know that sugar is your big enemy. Do not consume sugar. You should all pretend like you're diabetic. Remember the 25-gram rule. You have to start looking at today's rule. Now wait a second, I'm going to go eat the vegetables. There's no sugar in it. Yes, all those sugars are fine. All those sugars. There's no label on it. You know the nice thing about eating vegetables is that there's no calorie counting. There's no quantity. You don't have to weigh. There's no limit. You can eat a mountain of vegetables. No problem. You can eat it 4 times a day, 5 times a day, no issues. Anything with a packet, you better be careful because there's serving sizes. There's no serving sizes for vegetables. Eat it. That's it. Let's talk about coronary disease because that's my favorite subject, right? So in China, they took 500,000 people in this province called Guzheng. And they studied them over 3 years. Not one MI. Not one MI. This was in the China study. They went to Uganda. And they went to the rural areas. They did autopsies on like about 500-600 people. No coronary disease. So these people had different foods. The Ugandans were eating different foods, the Chinese were eating different foods. What was in common that they didn't have coronary disease? Nobody ate processed foods. See, they didn't eat processed. Did they eat meat? Sure they did. The Ugandans did. And some of the tribes, they would, but they ate meat only once every 10 days, and then they would drink the blood of the cow, and they relied on milk as well. But there was no processed foods. See what they've all got in similarity? No processed foods. And all of them had cholesterol levels less than 150. So wait a second, they're eating meat and milk and they had cholesterol less than 150? Well, I've got some surprises for you here. 80% of your cholesterol comes from your liver. Only 20% comes from your diet. So why is it that our livers, even we eat meat and our livers make so much LDL? And yet those Africans in Uganda, they eat meat and all that stuff, and how come their cholesterol didn't go up? Because the cholesterol going up, this is news for all of you, is in relation to inflammation. When your body is inflamed, it makes cholesterol in preparation for healing, because cholesterol is needed for every cell in the body, including your brain. So are you getting a different idea now? If your cholesterol is high, it's not just what you're eating that made your cholesterol go up directly. It's because you're eating something that's causing inflammation, and that inflammation makes your LDL go up in preparation for. So the LDL going up is not causing the coronary artery disease, but the LDL is going up because of inflammation, and it's the inflammation that then makes your coronary artery disease worse. The LDL, the cholesterol that's running around, is getting oxidized because you have poor oxidative stress abilities, and then it's oxidized LDL that makes things worse. But it's not the LDL in the first place. There is familial hyperlipidemia, but that's rare. So most people who have high cholesterol nowadays, I've changed my mind. Most people who have high cholesterol is because they're doing something in their body that's causing inflammation and making the LDL go up. So you change the diet, you change the habits, and the LDLs come down. Just like the Chinese guys and the Africans, where they stop eating processed foods, they're living a very natural life, and the LDL's fine. So this is a huge awakening. So the Korean soldiers that died, they found that they all had plaque. But they didn't rupture, but they ruptured when they were 45, 50 years old. So plaques that form in the arteries, they start at a very young age, but they rupture and crack later on in life. And why do they rupture and crack and cause a heart attack? Inflammation. So you see, we talk about inflammation. Inflammation, because your diet is inflammatory. The diet is inflammation. What's causing inflammation? The sugar, the additives, the poisons, the preservatives, the colorings, environmental toxins, additives, antibiotics, growth factors, insulin growth factors, all these other things. There's inflammation that's causing all this, which makes your plaques rupture. So I had a patient just recently. So he said, oh, I'm overweight, I'm going to lose weight. So he went on a paleo diet. He lost 32 pounds in 4 months. Fantastic. He was so happy with himself. And then he calls me 2 nights ago saying he's having a heart attack. And sure enough, his plaque ruptured. He had a heart attack. I had to put a stent in him. So he said, so I earned this heart attack? I said, yes, you did. But I lost all this weight. It's not all about the weight. It's inflammation, because the guy was eating chicken for lunch and dinner. And he was not eating anything else. He was eating very little vegetables. He was living on a paleo diet. So mostly meat. He hardly had breakfast. Lunch and dinner, he was eating just meats. So I told you that will make you lose weight. Sure, it's going to make you lose weight. But is it a good way to lose weight? No, because he had inflammation from eating that food. And that inflammation caused plaque rupture. So when I capped him, did he have lots of plaques? No, he didn't. He didn't have all that calcium and arteries all clogged up here and there. Yeah, pretty nice. But one area, the plaque suddenly cracked, like old wallpaper, and a blood clot was on it. And I had to fix that, and then I was doing all right. It's inflammation that causes plaque rupture. So let's say that some of you come to me and you say, oh, I've got coronary artery disease, you've got some disease, and you do a CT scan and you find calcium on your arteries. And so what? So what? These soldiers had it, they lived with it, they didn't die of it. So you can live with your plaque, just don't die from it. So how do you prevent yourself from dying from it? Don't let it crack. So how do I prevent my plaques from not cracking? Well, this is what we're talking about tonight. Then you'll live with your plaques, but just don't let them crack. Now, if a plaque gets too tight, because it just grows, let's say, then now you're going to get angina. Angina is not plaque rupture. And angina is predictable, because you'll come saying, you know, when I walk, I get chest pain down. So I know that he's got a blockage, he's not getting enough blood going through there, that's why he's getting angina. You pick it up on a stress test. But you're not going to get an MI, you're not going to get a heart attack, because you're not going to rupture a plaque. But if I did a stress test on you tomorrow, and you pass your stress test, but you have uncontrolled sugar, you have uncontrolled diabetes, you're overweight, you're eating all this standard American diet. Let's call it SAD. You're eating SAD. Standard American diet. So you passed your stress test. So you're going to say, so doc, I'm fine? And I'm going to say, no, you're not fine. You passed your stress test, but that doesn't mean anything. Because your risk factors are still there, and you can rupture plaque tomorrow or day after tomorrow. And I've seen it. Patients have come to me a week after having had a stress test somewhere else and say, look, I had a heart attack a week later. How? Because plaques ruptured. So there are 3 people who've clearly shown that you can prevent your plaques from rupturing. The Pritikin diet, and Dr. Pritikin, Dr. Ornish, and Dr. Esselstyn. Their studies clearly showed cardiac catheterization before and after a pure vegetarian diet. The plaques actually get better. They don't resolve completely. You can't get rid of plaque completely, but you can regress it. And you can see it with interventional ultrasound studies as well. So you can regress coronary disease, but it's up to you. To stop that inflammation. Plaques grow not linearly, they rupture, and then a small clot may form on it and just cover it up, and then rupture again, a small clot may form, rupture again, and they can grow. Or the clot can be huge and then you get a heart attack. So it's up to us. So what is it about meat that could be causing this inflammation? Well, meat contains endotoxin, and it cannot be destroyed by cooking. Oh, I cook my meat well. No, that doesn't get rid of endotoxin. So endotoxin takes a ride into your bloodstream via the fat. So we thought it was the fat that was dangerous. It's not. The fat was just the boat on which the endotoxin took a ride to get into your bloodstream. But it's the endotoxin that causes inflammation. So now I'm telling you that fat is not that bad. And it's true. I'd rather you have some fat in your diet than have sugar, or processed meats, or processed foods. Fat is not the big bad boy that people have made it out to be. Because look what it did to this nation. In 1957, they said that fats, we're going to fight a war against fats. And where did it lead us? Our coronary artery disease rates went up, obesity went up, diabetes went up, all these diseases went up. Wait a second, we told everybody not to eat fats and load up on carbohydrates, didn't we? That was the American diet, that was the set diet. Eat lots of carbohydrates, and that's not the bad thing, and cut out fats. So our fat consumption went down by 35% in the last 25 years. 30 years. Our fat consumption has really gone down. But did it help us as a nation? It hasn't. Because fat wasn't the culprit in the first place. Not really. We've got other bigger problems. So it's the endotoxin in meat that's bad. Also, I'm going to tell you something else about meat today, which is very interesting. Well, actually, you know what? I'll wait on that. Let me just go on first to say that Dean Ornish took patients who were having angina, and he put them on a vegetarian diet. They had a 91% reduction in their angina, versus those who on a regular SAD diet had a 186% increase in their angina. There was a study that was done with Brazilian nuts. Eating just a couple of Brazilian nuts a week reduced heart attacks and angina, lowered cholesterol. Amazing studies. Diet can change plaques. There's no doubt about it. So the thing about meat that I just want to tickle you about is that it's not just the meat. It's the meat protein and it's endotoxin. And there's one more thing. It's bacteria. And I'll come to that in a minute. So, but before I do that, let's talk about the lungs. What you don't want to eat and what you want to eat to prevent lung disease. So that's coronary disease. Now let's talk about lungs. So wait a second, has lungs got anything to do with diet and what not to eat? Yes, COPD, cancer, and asthma. 296,000 deaths every year from these. So the studies have shown that eating broccoli 3 times a week reduces your DNA mutations by 41% in your lungs within 10 days. COPD. You think your COPD is going to get better by eating vegetables? Absolutely, but nobody wants to talk about it. They give you a bronchodilator. No, you have COPD, change your diet to vegetarian diet, and your COPD will get better. Your cancer rates will go down. 41% reduction in the mutation rates in your lungs within 10 days if you go on eating vegetables. Turmeric and curcumin, these are anti-cancer medications. They took smokers and then they looked at the lungs and they did biopsies. Then they put them on turmeric and curcumin. There's a 38% reduction in their genetic mutations. Turmeric, curcumin, lung cancer, COPD. Curcumin increases apoptosis. Apoptosis means cells that are programmed to die, so it knocks off your bad cells. Curcumin, turmeric. The fumes, when you're frying something, goes into your lungs. Never inhale those fumes. Don't live next to a restaurant. The stuff that comes out from there is horrible. Kill you. It smells good. Grilling. When you're grilling, you produce polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. You better have a grill that has an extractor and get rid of all that, because if you inhale that, you get lung cancer or you get fibrotic lung disease. Stir-frying meat. Women who stir-fry a lot, they get increased heterocyclines and they get increased cancer rates. Do not inhale. Were you supposed to inhale that oil? Nobody told you you're supposed to inhale that oil. Then why are you inhaling it? It's unnatural. Women who grill meat in their third trimester of the pregnancy have babies with smaller heads and lower birth weights. Because what's in that grilling and what's coming out in that egg gets into the body and the baby gets it. I already told you, living near a restaurant is really bad, especially a Chinese restaurant. That's been shown. Everything I'm saying is referenced. Bacon fries. Never fry bacon. It causes nitrosamines, which causes cancer. And I hope you all know that the WHO has classified all processed meats as a class 1 carcinogen. You are not to go to the deli market. All processed meats are carcinogenic. Period. End of story. They took the fumes from tempeh and they compared that to the fumes that come out of bacon. Tempeh did not cause inflammation in the lungs, bacon did. Asthma. If you look at the incidence of asthma in kids, it is highest in kids that eat a lot of eggs and dairy products. The vegetarian kids have the lowest incidence of asthma as well. Let's talk about stroke. Told you want to be afraid of stroke, right? So we know that fiber, eating a lot of fiber, is good because it decreases stroke, heart attacks, diabetes, colon cancer, and even breast cancer. But the studies have shown that if you increase your fiber intake by only 7 grams, you have a 7% risk of having a stroke. I'll take that. Because the last thing I want is someone wiping my butt. You should be scared of a stroke. So if I told you 7% risk by eating 7 grams of, increased 7 grams of fiber in your diet, go and do it. Do you know there's not a single patient that I've seen in the stroke unit, and I'm the cardiologist for the stroke unit at Florida Hospital. They all regret their lifestyles. They all say, gosh, I wish I'd taken better care of myself. They're lying in that bed, they can't do anything. It's a pathetic state. But maybe we should all go and visit some of these people who can't walk and can't do things. It's terrible. You need 25 grams of soluble fiber, which are found in beans, oats, nuts, and berries. That's soluble fiber. And you need about 47 grams of insoluble fiber, which is found in whole grains. So what's this big deal about fiber? I'm going to tell you the secret about fiber in a few minutes. So fiber is good. Potassium. Potassium. You need 4.5 grams of potassium a day. So it's about 4,700 or 4,500 milligrams of potassium. Where is potassium found? Plant. Hardly any. Clear benefits. The higher the potassium intake, the lower the stroke risk. So why aren't we doing it? Greens, beans, sweet potatoes have the highest amount of potassium in it. Now if I ask you all, where's the potassium in your diet? Oh yeah, I drink OJ. It doesn't have that much potassium in it. Bananas. Everyone thinks of bananas. Bananas doesn't have that much potassium in it. There's more bananas in greens, beans, and sweet potatoes. Not bananas. And by the way, bananas are full of fructose. Don't eat it. What's the favorite fruit in the United States? Bananas. Everyone, bananas is the number one. Bananas, people are going bananas over bananas, but bananas is terrible. Honestly, I don't eat bananas. I don't know the last time I had a banana. Because I don't think it's a health food. It's got fructose in it, in it, and there's not that much potassium in it. Sweet potatoes, fantastic. It's a whole food. A lot of potassium in it. Higher the potassium, less arrhythmias. You don't get heart attacks and you don't get arrhythmias. Even if you get a heart attack, you're less likely to get an arrhythmia. Plus, you get lots of magnesium in it. So, citrus. Eating a lot of citrus also vasodilates you and you get lower incidence of strokes. So you got to have oranges, grapefruit, decrease the incidence of stroke. Sleep. I know you can't eat sleep, but I'm just going to mention sleep because it's one of my interests. If you sleep less than 6 hours a day, or if you sleep more than 9 hours a day, you've increased your risk of a stroke by 50%. So it's a U-shaped curve. The sweet spot is between 7 and 8 hours. Not more, not less. Otherwise you will get a stroke. And strokes are multifactorial. It's because of blood vessels that burst, because of high blood pressure, or blood clot forms in it, because of plaque, or because of an embolus, so it goes from the heart, the blood clot went to the brain and causes a stroke. No matter what it is, your risks are much higher if you don't sleep 7 to 8 hours a day. You must sleep. If you're not sleeping, you have a problem. If you're waking up in the morning fatigued and tired without feeling rested, you have a problem. Don't ignore it. Don't cut out on sleep. Sleep is not only important for this, sleep is important not only for cancer, cardiovascular disease, atrial fibrillation, high blood pressure, insulin resistance, obesity, depression, name it. There's something wonderful about sleep that happens. You go into REM sleep, you go into deep sleep. When you're in deep sleep, your whole body heals itself. All of a sudden, the cartilage is being replaced, the blood vessels are being replaced, all your cells are working better, and everything gets reset, you reboot everything. You have to sleep if you want to stay healthy. So, we're talking about antioxidants in all these foods. Plants have the highest amount of antioxidants. Meats have the lowest amount of antioxidants. Iceberg lettuce is the vegetable with the lowest amount of antioxidant units, which is 17. But chicken is 5. Skim milk is 5. An egg is 4. Salmon, fresh, wild-caught salmon, is 3 units. And I told you iceberg is only 17. Oregano is 300. Marjoram, 300. Curcumin, 120. Cinnamon, 150. Nutmeg, 140. You see what I'm getting at here? Foods and spices have high antioxidants, are going to be of beneficial value. There's no antioxidants in all these other foods. There's nothing there. That's why traditionally, if you're going to eat meat, you've got to have vegetables with it. And you've got to garnish it with certain things, such as cilantro, etc., etc. So I'm not saying that you can't have the meat, but you've got to have these other things with it, because that you're eating has nothing in it. Or hardly any antioxidants in it. Remember, the iron that's in meat also is of heme. And that heme iron is bad for you. But the iron that is found in plants, less gets absorbed, but that doesn't harm. So the iron that's in meat is not that good for you. We'll come to iron in a minute. Let's talk about Alzheimer's disease. You should be scared about Alzheimer's. So the Center for Alzheimer's Research, the topmost center in the United States, says vegetables and legumes and fruits should replace meat and dairy. They actually came out and made this statement. Go and reference it. But how come nobody's talking about it? Because there's not one reporter that wants to talk about it. There's not one newspaper that picks this thing up. Because it's not glorious. So Alzheimer's disease is not just the tangles that occur in the brain, we now believe that majority of Alzheimer's is actually vascular insufficiency in the brain. That means the small blood vessels in the brain just don't dilate properly. And therefore, the brain is actually blood starved. It's starving of blood because the blood vessels are paralyzed. They don't vasodilate. See, there's a thing called autoregulation in the brain. So as I stand here, my brain is getting a certain amount of blood in it, right? Now, if I lie down, those blood vessels will constrict, and then the same amount of blood will go through it. But right now, it's vasodilated because I'm standing up. So as my blood pressure goes up and down, those vasodilation contraction will regulate the amount of blood going to my brain because it wants to keep it constant. You lose that ability to vasodilate and vasoconstrict when you're on a bad inflammatory diet, especially with meat. And those studies have been done over and over again. You eat one bad meal and your brachial flow reserve goes down by 50%. That means your blood vessels can't vasodilate appropriately. And that's not just in your arm, it's in your whole body, your whole brain. That's why when you eat certain meals and you get so sleepy and groggy, why? Because you've got no blood getting into your brain. You know, it's a real problem. And yet when you feel good when you're eating the vegetables and your sugar levels are running just steady and good, and you say, oh, it's because my sugar's steady. It's not just that, it's because your blood flow to your brain is also good. Your ability to vasodilate is better. Vasodilation. You need, our blood vessels are not static. They vasodilate, they vasoconstrict. They vasodilate, and that ability to vasodilate is directly dependent on what you're eating. So blueberries and nuts were shown in the Harvard study, in the Nurses' Health Study, that even if you eat blueberries and nuts once a week, you reduce your chance of Alzheimer's disease. Vegetable juices reduce your chance, taken daily, a vegetable juice with the fiber, just put it in there and just smash it up. 76% reduced risk of Alzheimer's. You want to do this or not? Do you want to do this or are you going to go forget about it later on because you're going to get Alzheimer's? I don't know, I don't remember. Vegetable juices, 76% reduced risk. Look it up if you don't believe me. You've got to do a veggie juice. Look, I don't like eating too many vegetables, I'll be honest, okay? Because, you know, it gets a little heavy and all that. Buy juice. And I have a juice every day. Every day I'll have one juice. Made at home. So I put some celery in it, put a tomato, put a piece of ginger in it. Because that will produce less indigestion and gassy feeling. Okay? And then put half an apple or half a peach into it. And then add some spinach, a little bit of kale, if you want, and take some broccoli sprouts as well and put it in there, and then add some water. I don't add milk. And then just wrap it up. And look, I'm not doing this because I want to taste it nice. I just... That's it. I'm done. I down it in one shot. And then I go to work. But you gotta do this. You're not doing this for fun. This is so that I don't get dementia. I don't want dementia. So, what else causes lack of dementia? Polyphenols. Polyphenols are found in all the colorful vegetables. But do you know where you find most polyphenols, ounce for ounce? Is Concord grapes. So you get grape juice. Now, if there's one juice you want to drink, it's grape juice. It's the only juice that I think that you should really buy ready-made if you want. That's great. Pomegranate's fine, it's got a little bit of sugar in it, but it's got a lot of antioxidants also. But it hasn't been studied in dementia. It's been shown to improve vasodilation, but it hasn't been studied for dementia. Whereas what I'm telling you is all referenced. Polyphenols, Concord, grape juice reduces the chances of getting Alzheimer's. I'm an evidence-based guy. I can't stand here and say something if I cannot substantiate it. I have to have a reference. Saffron. If you give someone saffron, a little bit of saffron every day for 6 weeks, their symptoms of Alzheimer's, once they got it, actually improves as well. To the extent it's as good as Aricept, a medication. Oh, you won't take Aricept, or do you rather just take a little saffron every day? I'd rather just take a little saffron and put in my veggie juice. Saffron's expensive. Just add a little bit to your veggie juice. You're done. Now, there's a few things else that I add to my veggie juice I should tell you all right now and confess. Number one, I'd add a thing called Amla Powder, A-M-L-A. Amla Powder is Indian gooseberry, and that powder is available everywhere. And I take a teaspoon of it and I put it in my veggie juice because that boosts, you remember I was telling the units, 300 units of antioxidant, it boosts it to 1200. Can you imagine that, 1200? I mean, that's where you want to be, above 1000. So it's called Amla Powder, A-M-L-A. There's also a thing called Kamu, which is very nice, it's a black powder. You can put that in. I also add, to my breakfast, I usually add half a tablespoon of ground flax seeds, because that gives me all my omega-3. Talking about omega-3, the studies now show that fish oil omega-3 does not decrease the incidence of heart attacks or strokes. So the question is, wait a second, omega-3 is good for you, but why isn't fish oil capsules good for you? Because it's not natural. You see, you're getting the idea that you need a whole food, not something that's extracted, put into a pill, and then you take it. So fish oil is good for you, but not in that form. Just like vitamin E tablets increase your incidence of heart attacks and strokes. Vitamin A increases your cancer rates instead of decreasing it if you take it separately. The only thing that has been found to be actually so far so good is vitamin D. That if you take that in its isolated form, and all of you should, because you all probably got vitamin D deficiency, you should take at least 5,000 units a day. So that's the only, everything else we're finding that if we isolate something, it doesn't seem to have the same effect as a whole food. Sorry, there's no quick fix here. You can't just go to the store and buy a tablet. I'm sorry, you're just going to have the whole food because it comes with all the other ingredients in it. So the way I get my omega-3 now is I stopped taking fish oil many years ago. I used to take fish oil because 3% of it is poison. Because 97% of it is fish oil, what's the rest? It's dioxin, PCP, and mercury. Anyone want some? Anyone want some? No. So I'd rather have flaxseed, organic flaxseed. I don't even want 3% toxins. I don't need it. Now, there's a stuff called advanced glycation end products. These are molecules in your body that play havoc with your metabolism. They don't come naturally, you create it. How? By barbecuing, number one, chicken, bacon, hot dogs, steak, fish, and turkey. So if you take it and you cook it and you braise it brown, especially if you make it black, blacken it a little bit here and there, really bad for you. It's got advanced glycation end products. These things cause havoc in your whole body, cause inflammation. So wait a second, how am I supposed to cook the meat then? The best way to cook meat is to cook it and stew it. You stew it, so you cook it in water. Don't overheat, don't barbecue, don't grill, because then the meat is going to get burnt. And when it gets burnt, you're going to get advanced glycation end products, you get nitrosamine products, it's cancer. Anyone who barbecues a lot? No, they get cancer. Barbecuing is not good. You're supposed to do it once or twice a year, and that's about it. Max. Once in a while. Baking is also not good for meat. Microwave is terrible. You got to stew it. You got to put it in water and let it cook in the water, and let the meat in there. And that's the safe way to make meat. But if you take it to high temperatures, browns it, you get advanced glycation end products. Now, which ones produce the moist heat? What's the bottom line? You need moist heat when you're cooking meats. So which is the worst meat, poultry or red meat for products, for advanced glycation products? Your answer is poultry. Poultry is worse than red meat. So given a choice Okay, all of a sudden it's doomsday and there's only two foods left, red meat and poultry. What will I eat? I'll eat the red meat. I will not eat poultry. Stopped eating poultry quite a while ago. The data is very strong for poultry, especially today's poultry. So, pardon? Because of everything in chicken is, first of all man-made. The meat is terrible today. It's full of lectins. It's got antibiotics also in it. It's got sugar. Did you know that sugar is very, do you know the glycemic index of chicken is very high? It causes your insulin level to go up and causes insulin resistance. It's full of salt. Why? What would salt be in there for? There's salt in it. And there's nitrates in it because they inject it to give it nice pink color as well. Now the chicken is really the one that's running around in the wild eating worms and insects. And if you have the energy to catch one and slaughter it and eat it, then that's fine. But that's the one you want to eat. That's the chicken you want. I grew up in Africa, that's the kind of chicken we used to eat. Had hardly any meat on it. Had to look for it. So, let's talk about colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer. You don't want colorectal cancer. You don't walk around with a bag full of feces. So in India, there's hardly any colorectal cancer. And the question is why? They don't have cancer. It's curcumin. It's because of the spices that they add. So curcumin reduces your chance of colorectal cancer severely. Smoking, of course, increases it. So they took smokers and gave half of them curcumin and half of them none, and they followed them for 5 years to look at the incidence of cancer. It was much reduced in patients who were taking curcumin. So if you have a family history of colon cancer, start putting curcumin in your food. Turmeric. Number 2, you must have big bowel movements. Every day you must have a big bowel movement. Bigger the better. Doesn't matter how many times you have to flush. The transit time must be short, 1 to 2 days. So let's say that you ate, I'm going to give an example. Let's say you ate some beet, and the next day, today for lunch, and the next day you went to the bathroom, and the toilet was a little red. That's good. But if that redness came 3 days later, you're in trouble. Your transit time is too long. So all that stuff is sitting inside your belly and becoming carcinogenic and causes colon cancer. A short transit time in your bowels. So now what makes the bowels big? What makes it big? Is it that you ate a lot? No, it's bacteria. Most of your stool is actually bacteria. So when you start eating right, you're going to make lots of bacteria. What makes lots of bacteria in your gut? Meats? No. It's fiber. So you see, we're coming back to fiber now. Fiber is the only thing that bacteria want to eat, or good bacteria want to eat. The bad bacteria want sugar and meat protein. The good bacteria in your gut wants fiber. You've got to feed them fiber. You eat lots of fiber, it's not the fibers coming out. People think, oh, I eat high fiber diet, all that fiber's coming out. No, it's bacteria coming out. Millions and billions and billions of bacteria because you've changed your bacterial flora. You see? So that's what it is. So you want to eat a lot of fiber, especially beans, seeds, nuts. And this reduces the incidence of colorectal cancer. So 30,000 Californians were studied in the California study. And they found that those, for 6 years they were followed, those who had white meat versus red meat. White meat had more cancer. Now, you know why I don't eat chicken? I don't want to carry around a bag on my waist. Chicken and fish, only 1 time a week, increases your risk of having colorectal cancer 3-fold. Red meat, once a week, increases your risk of colorectal cancer, doubles it. Just once a week. Now, this is very, very serious because wait a second, you tell me I can't even have it once a week? Yes, not even once a week. But if you eat a lot of vegetables and then you have meat once a week, it mitigates the risk. So the studies show that if you eat lots of vegetables all week long, and then you eat meat once, and you eat it with vegetables, the risk is gone. But we don't want to eat vegetables. We just want to eat the meat on its own, with only potatoes. So there was a huge study done by the NIH. It was called the AARP NIH study. They took 500,000 males. There was another study called the health study. And there's another one which is called the NHS study, 12,000 people. And they showed that the iron from meat causes inflammation in the body. The iron in meat. But the iron that comes from plants doesn't cause inflammation. The study also demonstrated that if you donate blood, you have a lower incidence of dying from a stroke or a heart attack and cancer. So what's that got to do with all this? Because when you donate blood, you're reducing the amount of iron that's in your body. So we need iron. And maybe that's why women are protected until menopause, because their iron levels are lower, because they're losing iron every month. Nothing to do with hormones. Because women are protected until menopause, and then they catch men up very quickly. So the incidence so all my young male patients who have coronary artery disease, and if the hemoglobin is more than 15, I just tell them, go and donate a unit of blood. If you donate a unit of blood today, in the next 1 year, the study shows that you have a 15% reduced rate of having a heart attack. Now come on, if I had coronary artery disease, I'll go and give blood tomorrow. Just make sure you're not anemic, of course. But check your hemoglobin. If it's normal, I'll go and give blood. So giving blood is therapeutic. And of course, it's a good deal. But who wants to talk about this? Have you heard of this? No. Because it's not glorious or sexy or romantic. So there we go. Anyway, so the iron is found in green leafy vegetables, dried fruit, nuts. I love dried fruits. Nuts, seeds. All right, let's talk about pancreatic cancer. This is going to shock you. Pancreatic cancer. They took 30,000 poultry workers and studied them, and they showed that they have a 9 times increased risk of having pancreatic or liver cancer. Where does this come from? Now, they were just working there. They were not eating it all any different from other people, because they took a cohort that was identical. Just simply working in a poultry plant. Why? Because we think it's viruses that are pro-cancer. So you see, you need to understand, look, bird flu and all that, where does it all come from? It comes from poultry farms. When you take millions of poultries and you put them in one place, they have a chance to mutate and pass it on, mutate and pass it on, mutate and pass it. The next thing you've got a new strain of a bird virus. Well, they produce viruses that cause cancer. So you see, these birds are they're not without disease, they were not without risk. The workers have a 9 times increased incidence of having liver cancer or pancreatic cancer. So first of all, I think I'm a poultry worker, but I'm just saying that poultry farming itself is also harmful. The poultry itself is also harmful. Chicken eaters themselves, they took 477,000 of them, followed them for 10 years. This was the EPIC study. 72% increased risk of pancreatic cancer by eating only 50 grams total. 50 grams a day of chicken. Don't eat chicken. It causes pancreatic cancer. Esophageal cancer. Esophageal cancer, clearly related to multiple things, but reflux. If you have a lot of reflux, you're going to get esophagus getting constantly irritated. What causes reflux? Animal fats causes reflux. GERD. Very rare in vegetarians, very common in meat eaters. Eat more vegetables. If you have GERD, eat more vegetables. Now I'm going to talk about the gut. The gut has bacteria in it. You forget that you're not a human being only. You're a human being plus millions and millions of bacteria. And you're living a symbiotic relationship, and we forgot this. This is now going to be the greatest area of health that I foresee in the next 10 years, is your gut. The bacteria in your gut give you 50% of your micronutrients. Don't think it's what you ate. It's what the bacteria made, gave to you, and now it's in your bloodstream. So you better be kind to your bacteria and give it the right food. The good bacteria want only fiber. They don't want anything else. So you eat a lot of sugar, you're encouraging the growth of the bad bacteria in your gut. This bacteria then produces molecules that cause obesity, change of metabolic rate, inflammation, leaky gut syndrome. You eat meats, and bacteria that feed on meat produce TMA. TMA is called transmethylamine. So those bacteria produce TMA. The TMA gets absorbed into the bloodstream, goes to the liver, gets oxidized, and then creates inflammation in the whole body. So it's the bacteria that produce the inflammation because you ate meat. It's not the meat. Are you all getting the picture? When we blame certain things, it's not that. We have so much research now. Like I was telling you about the endotoxin. Well, here, the data shows that the meat protein fosters the growth of certain bacteria, and we've identified these bacteria, and then they produce TMA, and TMA causes inflammation. So basically, if you take someone and make them mostly vegetarian and give them a meat dish, the TMAs will only go up a little bit. But someone who eats meat all the time, they have a lot of that bacteria that eat another meal of meat, and the TMAs go really high. You see, it's all making sense now. And then, if I took your bacteria and put it into them, they'll get sick. Wait a second, what's that? So can I do it therapeutically? Yes, you can. We can now do fecal transplants. So if someone has CDT, which is a bacterial overgrowth of CDT, we get rid of all the bacteria, put the good guy in, and all of a sudden they get better. There are clinics in California for obesity where they take the poop of a healthy person and put it into the obese patient, and the obese patient starts losing weight without changing anything else, because his metabolic rate is changing because he's changing bacterial flora. The bacterial flora in your gut is so important for your health. We just haven't tapped even the beginning of this whole area of the microbiome. All you gotta do is, number one, make sure that you're not killing the bacteria by not taking antibiotics. And if you do, you better replace the bacterial flora, right? And number two, feed the bacteria what they want, which is fiber. That's all they want. And fiber comes from plants. And don't feed it animal protein, because you'll grow the wrong bacteria in your gut and cause inflammation. So when you get sick, it's not only because of what you're eating, it's also what you're eating and what your bacteria are eating and what your bacteria are also doing. So that brings me to probiotics. Yes, I love probiotics, because we are all killing our bacterial flora every day. So I take a probiotic every day, not in the form of a capsule, I take it in the form of kefir, K-E-F-I-R. Because it gets absorbed all the way down into my colon and releases all those bugs in there. And I'm killing them every day because there's antibiotics in some of the food that I eat, whether I like it or not. So I'm replenishing them. And I'm giving them the good bugs. I'm replacing bugs every day. And the bugs want to eat fiber. So I eat prunes every day. And I take that flaxseed every day, the ground flaxseed. So I'm eating a lot of fiber with it because that's all they want. Now, what that's done for me personally is that over the last few years, honestly, I don't get that sick. I might get the sniffle once in a while. Gives me a lot of energy. My weight stays down. My energy is great. I can outrun any resident. I can outthink any resident. They're half my age. Yeah. But I think part of that's because my gut is happy. You know, they've taken bacterial flora from a normal person and put it into a depressed person, and the depression got better. It's the bacterial flora that's changing. So this bacterial stuff is under a lot of investigation now. But all I'm telling you is, you don't want to get sick, take care of your bacterial flora. And start that today. Start feeding it the right stuff. You know, remember, 80% of all antibiotics are going into animals. And from the animals, where are they going? They're going into you. They're going into you, all of you. You're full of antibiotics. Terrible. Let's talk about, how much time do I have? I got another 5 hours? Well, the traffic's all gone. It's almost 9:30. You got time for a little bit more, maybe? 5 minutes more? All right, let's talk about diabetes. What is diabetes? Diabetes is, the mystery about diabetes has been solved, but most people still don't know what diabetes is. This is what diabetes is. Type 2 diabetes, not about type 1. Diabetes is when there's too much fat in your muscles and in your liver so that those cells cannot respond to insulin anymore. Because the cell membranes are deformed, so the insulin receptors are deformed, insulin can't work anymore. So diabetes is fat toxicity in the muscles. That's it. So because of that, the sugar goes up, because it can't work. If you want to cure your diabetes, your type 2 diabetes, get rid of all the fat that's in your muscles and in your liver. Now, I gave a clue to this earlier on. Why does muscle develop fat in it, and why does the free fatty acid go over there and deposit itself over there or in the liver? It's because of the sugar that you're eating. Sugar, the fructose, and the alcohol. So it's the fructose. Now, if you eat too much regular fat also, it'll do the same thing. It'll go into your stores, and remember now, it's very important. You are born with X number of million of fat cells when you are born. As you become obese, fat cells don't increase in number. You now have 5 trillion, whereas previously you had 2 trillion, so you're so fat because cells become fat. So what happens when that cell reaches its maximum potential? The fats that you eat or creating through your liver, through your diet and everything else that I mentioned, those fats are nowhere to go. So instead of now being deposited in your fat stores, which are all full now, they get into your bloodstream, and from the bloodstream into your muscles. And now you have type 2 diabetes. Do you see what I'm saying? So you could be a type 2 diabetic that's not that fat, but you have type 2 diabetes. Why? I'm not that fat, because I wasn't born with that many fat cells. That's why I'm not that fat. But I have type 2 diabetes because I have too much fat in my muscles. So I have to cut that fat away. The way I do it is I cut out all fructose, I cut out all sugar in my diet, and I cut out fats as well, and I lose weight, and I exercise. And then that way my type 2 diabetes. I'm going to take questions a little bit later because I'm running really short on time, but I know there'll be a lot of questions on all these things. But it's intramyocellular lipids that's causing toxicity. We are dying of too much fat in diabetes, too much fat. Reduce your fat, reduce your sugar, reduce your fructose, and reduce your calories. So you won't get the spillover effect from your fat into your muscles. We have to keep ideal body weight. So when you come see our nutritionist, there's many things. Do you want an anti-inflammatory diet? Do you want a weight loss diet? Do you want an anti-diabetic diet? What are you looking for? And then you got to fine-tune your diet according to that. So some need to lose more weight, some need more anti-inflammatory, some need more lipid management, some need cardiovascular only. So you need to juggle all these different aspects of your physiology. There's no simple solution. So what would typically happen is, Karina will see one of you and say, okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. Okay, so this is contributing to this part of your diet is contributing to this part of your diet, and then we need to figure out something that's going to make your physiology change. Same thing I want to say about blood pressure. One thing I've got to say about blood pressure, salt. You know, I haven't said anything about salt so far. Salt is a poison. Your body was made to hold on to every gram. You know, when I get dehydrated, there's not a single gram of sodium in urine. My kidneys can hold on to every bit of it. And we are consuming so much salt, and salt causes high blood pressure, insulin resistance, stiffening of the arteries, so you don't get endothelial flow reserve going up, strokes, heart attacks, renal failure. All is created just by eating too much salt. And when you go out to eat, your food is full of salt, and you're not reading how much salt is in the food. On your labels, for every calorie, you should only have 1 milligram of sodium. I promise you, every packet you look at, if it says serving size, 300 calories. Sodium, 600, 500. 400. It should never be, if it's 300 calories per serving, you should never have more than 300 milligrams of sodium in it, preferably even less than that. So, you know, our daily intake of sodium, and you can read this on your bottles and it should be less than 1,000 mgs. That's ideal. And there's plenty of sodium in the foods, and your taste buds will change if you just cut out salt. After 2 to 3 weeks, your taste buds will be great. And then you spice up your food with celery, coriander, lemon, paprika, chili, lime, pepper, parsley, basil, onions, and garlic. Use these things rather than salt to make your food taste better. If you take a medication for blood pressure, you're going to reduce your stroke rate by 25%, heart attack by 15%. If you just eat whole grains, you get the same effect. So do you want the side effects of blood pressure medication? Eat whole grains instead. White rice increases the risk of diabetes by 17%. Oats and barley instead of white rice, 36% reduction in diabetes. The DASH diet is mostly vegetables, but the government changed it and added meat to it because they said it has to be more palatable for the Americans. But am I here for your palate, or am I here to tell you the truth? I mean, this really upsets me because the original DASH diet did not have meat in it. When Dr. Sachs was approached, he created this diet that was vegetarian, but then Dr. Sachs added all those meats. So,
what about whole wheat bread?
Whole wheat bread is not whole wheat bread because they lied to you. So you believe everything. Whole wheat bread, 90% of it is white bread. They have a little bit of whole wheat to it, and now the government allows you to call it whole wheat. But if you look at most whole wheat, it's not, because the real bread that's whole grain bread, that's made from whole grains, is so heavy and hard, you've got to break it over your knee, just like Jesus did. And shared that. No, but what I'm saying, it has to be whole grain is totally different from what they sell you as whole wheat. It's advertising. They're quoting that. It should be full whole grain. And first of all, you don't need bread. Bread was invented during the starvation period as a mass food for survival. Are you in survival mode? Yes. No. Then why do you need bread? Pure sugar. It's got a glycemic index that's very high, even whole grain. You don't need it. You don't need bread. Don't eat bread.
On bread and eggs and yogurt. You're wrecking my whole
Yeah, I've wrecked your whole. I've wrecked it for you.
I know it's
Now, how many of you have kidney stones? Kidney stones are caused by acidity in your urine. What causes your urine to become acid? Meat and acid, because that's what produces acid. Vegetables makes your urine alkaline. So if you have oxalates from meat. But how many people with kidney stones are told that you need to become a vegetarian mostly? No. Renal failure.
What about tuna fish?
Tuna fish is terrible. 2 days of tuna fish increases your chance of having kidney stones by 250%. That's a statistic right here in my book, right there. 2 days of tuna, 250% increase in kidney stones. There you go. All types of meat will do it. You need to alkalize your urine. Now, if you eat animal protein versus vegetable protein, your kidneys can handle vegetable proteins much better. That is why patients with renal failure are told to be on a low protein diet. But go on a plant-based protein diet, you won't have a problem. Phosphates. Phosphates will destroy your blood vessels. And phosphates are found in meats. Plants don't have phosphates, they have phytates, which is a different kind. You can't get toxic from it. Coke, full of phosphates. Chicken are injected with phosphates to give them color. And they're also injected with stain. So you want to avoid anything that contains phosphates in it. So all processed meats have phosphates. Now I'm going to tell you one last thing about breast cancer. It affects a lot of people at home. Okay, 20% of women dying naturally from other causes actually have occult carcinoma of the breast. So it's very common, but not all of it becomes malignant. So the doubling rate is very important, and that doubling rate depends on you, whether you're taking care of yourself or not. You don't take care of yourself, you will then get breast cancer. It's already there, it'll grow. So look at this. Insulin-like growth factor comes from meats, and that increases the risk of breast cancer. Alcohol increases breast cancer. Even in your mouthwash. Even in your mouthwash. Women should not use alcohol mouthwash. Increases the risk of breast cancer. And red wine is better than white wine. White wine increases risk of breast cancer, but red wine, it's only because of the polyphenols, so it's kind of neutralized. But cancer of the breast related to diet. Roasted meats at high temperatures produce heterocyclinamines that increases risk of breast cancer. Breast cancer is directly related to pan frying, roasting, barbecuing, grilling, and baking meat. This is clearly been shown. And of course, high cholesterol has been shown. Fiber. If you increase your fiber intake, you have an 85% reduced chance of having breast cancer by increasing your fiber intake. This was in the Yale study. Very simple. 1 apple a day reduces your chances of having breast cancer by 24%, but you have to have the peel with it, because the peel of the apple has all the good nutrition in it.
But it also has all the bad stuff in it.
And soy milk decreases the incidence of breast cancer. Green tea decreases the incidence of breast cancer. So you gotta have soy milk, green tea, cut down on the meats, especially the roasting, because that causes all those nitrosamines and causes all those aging molecules. And for men who have prostate cancer, again, it's like the breast, it's in just about everybody. But you can make it grow if you want, you can feed it, or you can starve it. The biggest problem for breast cancer, for prostate cancer for men is egg consumption and poultry consumption. This has been done at the Harvard study that showed that for men, eggs and poultry causes prostate cancer, increases risk of prostate cancer. Eating 2.5 average eggs per week increases your risk because of choline of prostate cancer by 81%. Just like meat that has carnitine in it, eggs have choline in it. And choline produces TMA, just like carnitine produces TMA and causes inflammation. Flax seeds reduce risk and propagation of prostate cancer. So you see, there's still a lot more we can talk about. But the point I'm trying, there's a common theme here is get back to nature. Get back to nature, get back to eating things the way they came out of the ground or the tree on the shrub. Eat some nuts, but avoid cashew nuts and avoid peanuts. Because cashews and peanuts are not nuts, they're actually beans and they have a lot of lectins in it. So you eat more walnuts and almonds and pecans, vegetables. And try not to eat a lot of meat. If you're going to eat meat, you better really eat a lot of vegetables. Fruits, be careful, don't eat too much fruits because they have too much fructose in it. No fruit juices, no fructose in your diet. Don't drink Coke, don't eat anything that's made in a factory. If it's made elsewhere, if you got barcode on it, don't even bother. And live long and be disease-free. Thank you very much.
Yep, oh, sorry.
Social media.
Before we go, once again, let's give a big hand for Dr. Jamnadas. Thank you. I just want to take a moment to talk about the Galen Foundation. This is Dr. Jamnadas' passion. The Galen Foundation is a charitable organization. Is it 501c3? And it's all of this comes from, we asked for vendors to help with that sort of thing, but the cost of all of this comes just from that charity. So if you're inclined to donate, you can see anybody at any time. I'm not asking for it now, but just know that this is the passion of education. And Galen was one of the original physicians to the Roman emperors, and he was the first one to coin the phrase doctrine, which is really teaching, about teaching. And this gentleman takes that to heart. And so this is all about education and empowering you to be able to go out and do things with the information that you get here. Now, I know they got a bunch of questions, so I'm going to give you back the mic. And just so you know, that clock is an hour fast, and so it's 8:35. Are there any questions?
Okay, I'll take that one right in the front there. Yeah.
I have a question regarding the relation between soy and blood clot and cancer. I've heard, I don't know
Yeah,
if there is any.
the question is the relationship between soy and disease, particularly cancer. So we know that the Chinese women have a lower incidence and Japanese women have a lower incidence of breast cancer because they have more soy in the. It was controversial about the soy and the estrogens, but the overall data is that the more they ate soy, the less breast cancer that they actually had. Now, once you get breast cancer, then you need to talk to your oncologist to see whether your receptors are positive or negative for estrogen. So that part of it, I'm not. But once you get the breast cancer, then you need to talk to your
But nothing
oncologist about
related to
that.
blood clot, no?
No, there's no relationship between soy intake and blood clots. Absolutely not. So,
Fatty liver. Is there any way to reverse it? We talked about fatty liver.
fatty liver. Yes, the way to reverse fatty liver. Great question. The way to reverse fatty liver is cut out all sugars in your diet, or especially fructose. Cut that out because fructose has no other way to get out of your to be digested in the body except your liver. So your liver. No alcohol. Number one. Number two. No fructose. Number three. No sugar. The sugar is half fructose and half glucose. Just cut these three things out, and your fatty liver will definitely get better. And cut down normal calories as well.
But it is reversible.
Yes, it is absolutely reversible. MASH is totally reversible. Yes, ma'am.
Well, so many doctors here give older people like me blood thinners, and I wondered, how you feel about that. I mean, obviously everybody's different, but I also wondered if there's a difference in your mind between Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt, than others, because the labels all say it, there is,
Yeah.
And also, I suppose you don't nuke anything in the microwave.
No, I don't
And
like nuclear.
do you use a crock
I
pot?
leave that to the North Koreans.
Well, what about a crock pot, though, for the
Okay, so blood thinners. If your physician advises you to be on a blood thinner, you need to know what it's about and you must follow the orders. Blood thinners are very important. Today's problem is the blood is becoming too thick, we're forming blood clots. For atrial fibrillation, DVTs, heart attacks, coronary patients, antiplatelets, anticoagulants, you need those. So that's a question, that's a medical question. Number two, Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is being produced and all that, it's all advertising. There are a lot of calories in Greek yogurt, a lot of sugar in it. Watch the label. It's got a label on it, don't eat it. First of all. So I don't have regular yogurt anymore. If I do, it's once in a while. If I'm having some biryani or something, I'll put some yogurt on it just for the taste of it. But no, yogurt is not a health food. It's got too much sugar in it, too much fructose in it, and therefore I don't abide by that. If you're going to do it, you do kefir.
I'm going to add to that. I'm a reformed yogurt person. Kefir is really good. You got to try it.
Doctor, you said something about instead of ordinary probiotic, you take something called kefir, K-I-F-E-R.
K-E-F-I-R.
Where do you get that?
It's at all the Publix, anywhere you can buy it. And there's two types. There's one made from cow milk, and there's one made from goat milk. The goat milk is only available at Whole Foods, and Publix only has the cow one. It's by Lifeway. So I prefer the goat one because it's lighter and easier to digest because goat milk is almost like mother's milk. So I don't like cow's milk for multiple reasons. Plus, I think it's got less antibiotics in it and less growth hormones and other issues in it. So I prefer goat
milk. Okay. And the second question is, this is too valuable for everything that you've covered here. And Mr. Douglas said that it's on social media. I would like to know where we can, because this really should be, when you think about it, whether it's a urologist or others, should be able to get this information out. I've never heard a fraction of this from my urologist, for example. So I think, is there any a plan to put this on a CD or anything, social media or something?
I'm going to let this young man answer that question.
At the moment, we have gone live stream on Facebook. Once the seminar or lecture is over, it will stay there. And I will link that to our website. So if you just go to, if you just search for the name of this lecture, What You Don't Eat Can Kill You on Google, it should take you straight to the link. If you go on Facebook and follow Dr. Jamnadas, you should be able to find it as well. And
Well, I'd like to make a suggestion. I think that this is so valuable that to people for health, whatever your age is, that this could be self-financing if this was available. And I'm serious about that.
Well, Mr. Haskell, to answer that question, the success of tonight and more nights like this, yes, stay tuned, because it's a matter of time before we get other physicians to start coming to
Play
this.
this in your car on a CD, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that, today's is really a teaser, because if you really want to just know about renal disease and prostate cancer, for example, that is a 45-minute lecture. Because you can really look at the data, and it's amazing data. There's lots of it. I mean, I just touched on a lot of the different things. But you're absolutely right. Every subspecialty in medicine should know what's right or wrong in terms of diet for that disease process. The first medicine should be the diet. Then comes everything else. But what we're doing is we're going to all the medicines first, and no one's telling them about the diet. The diet should be the first thing. You got COPD, then change. This is your diet. You got cornea, this is your diet. You got prostate cancer, this is your diet. And then go to everything else. So I think that the answer is we need to have more of these, and maybe in the future we'll have them more concentrated. So let's first talk about the sugar diabetes and do a whole thing on diabetes. And then do another lecture just on lipids and how to bring your cholesterols down. Next on gut flora, and just talk about gut flora. Yes, sir.
Is there a difference between regular vegetables and organic vegetables? Which one should I be eating and buying? Does it really matter?
Great question. Is there a difference between organic vegetables and regular vegetables? I say, eat the vegetables. Because you see, if you go and get organic only, it's going to cost a lot of money. Now, there is some benefit to it, because it may have some less fertilizers in it, it may have some of the less pesticides in it. But the difference you're going to get just by switching over to a predominantly whole food, plant-based diet, the benefit is so much that if you're not eating organic, you're not really losing out on much. See? Now, if you're already toxic, let's say that you already have high mercury levels or high pesticides level in your blood, and you already have dioxin in your system because you were in Vietnam or whatever. Yeah, then I might say to you, don't eat any fish oil, don't eat any fish, get only organic this, get only organic that. Right now, absolutely no. Just get the vegetables in you. If you have the luxury, then get the organic. If you have the money, if you want to spend that extra money, then fine, go ahead and do it. Because I do believe that organics are more valuable than eating regular, especially fruit. Organic fruits have higher antioxidants in it, less pesticides in it, the skins are healthier as well. You want to eat fruits and vegetables that are in season, because they also have less lectins in it because they're ripe, and therefore they're much better and much healthier for you. So the answer is not that easy. If life is difficult, your fast-paced life, you don't have time to do it, then just eat a lot of vegetables. If you have the luxury, go for the organic. Yeah.
How to cook them though? How do you prepare them?
How to prepare vegetables?
No, I mean, you don't want barbecue, you don't want them baked, or no?
I want vegetables. When you barbecue and do those, it's the meats that are a problem. So you need to moist cook the meats. Okay? All vegetables, you can cook them however you want. You can put them in a wok, you can steam them, you can braise them, you can grill them. Doesn't matter. Don't overcook vegetables because you'll kill all the good nutrients in it. Now, I want to say something about lectins. The lectin you all know about is gluten. But that's just one lectin of many lectins. So if you want to kill the lectins in the foods, they are found in beans, lentils. So to kill those, you need to pressure cook them for about 10 minutes. So when you're eating lentils and beans, buy an instant pot or some sort of pressure cooker and cook for 10 minutes. It kills the lectins. Then you'll be fine. So there you go. Other than that, you can cook vegetables any way that you like. It's going to be very healthy for you. Yeah.
Fruits not to eat.
Excuse me. What? I've been waiting a long time. You're saying not to eat fructose, but we have to have 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day. If fruit contains fructose, how many and what fruits should we eat?
Yeah. It's not 5 servings of fruits. 1 serving of fruit is enough. The fruits I would avoid are the following: I would avoid bananas, regular grapes, because they have very high glycemic index. I avoid watermelon, pineapple, kiwi. I eat more prunes, plums, peaches, and apples, because the glycemic index is lower. Apples are very healthy with the skin. But I avoid all the other fruits that have a high glycemic index because, one, I don't want to gain too much weight, got too much sugar and too much fructose in it. Oranges, you should eat a whole orange. One orange a day, not 2 or 3. 1 fruit a day is enough. The 5 is the vegetables, not 5 vegetables and 5 fruits. No, it's 5 vegetables. That's it, and then 1 fruit.
Okay, I have another comment/question. You're saying that you don't believe it makes a difference whether or not we eat organic.
No, it does.
But from the studies that I've read, quite a few studies, the ones that aren't organic are definitely, most of them, genetically modified. And the body doesn't know what to do with a genetically modified food. Supposedly it puts it in fat cells. And also they've genetically modified it so they can spray it with 6 and 7 times more chemicals like Roundup, which we eat when we get the vegetables, if they're genetically modified.
Okay, good question. Genetically modified foods requires a whole lecture. Number one, most of the genetically modified foods that you are talking about are going to be found in processed foods. And rule number 1 is don't eat processed foods. Processed foods will have the genetically modified stuff. Now, the non-processed foods that have genetic modifications are basically your tomatoes. You know, today's tomatoes are all genetically modified. And they're not that harmful. That study has been done. It's the BT wheat and others. But you're not eating it. That's flour. And I just told you you're not going to have flour because flour is a processed meal. So if you're sticking to a whole food, plant-based diet, then genetic modification foods are going to become irrelevant. Not to say that it's not going to sneak in. You'll still get some. It'll be a little harmful to you if you have some of that. And your question is very relevant about the foods, the more organic, the better for you. But when I start talking to people and saying that go out and just buy organics, they say, wait a second, you want me to cut out the meat, you want me to eat more vegetables, and then you want me to only eat organic. It's too much, they can't handle it. Because they need to go shopping every day, they need to make your life plan. So I tell them, look, there is a difference. It's not that much. But the difference between a plant-based diet and a meaty diet is huge. So if you've made that change, even if 50% better, you've made such a big difference in your health that the added difference you're going to make with your organics is not that much. We have bigger fish to fry, literally.
The argument between margarine and butter.
Big argument about margarine and butter. Butter is much better than margarine. Margarine is man-made. It's full of hydrogenated oils. I'm going to warn you all about hydrogenated oils that's in margarine. But number 2, if you take an oil and reheat it in a micro or on the stove, you've created hydrogenated fats. So if you make a meal, don't reheat it again because you've just created hydrocarbons, hydrogenated fats. So no margarine, absolutely not. Butter, okay, in small amounts, very small amounts, because you need some oil to cook your food in, or some fat, I should say, not oil. And vegetable oils, you should not have vegetable oils. Vegetable oils are not a health food, they are man-made. There's no such thing as canola. It's rapeseed. And it was created. They wanted to do something with it, so they made oil from it. It's not a health food. If anything, you can have a little bit of butter for your food. If you're going to take a vegetable oil, you can have a little bit of sunflower oil or grapeseed oil. That's right. Olive oil is not a health food. Olive oil makes you gain weight. Olive oil doesn't make you healthier. In the Mediterranean diet, the olive oil, people thought it was healthy. No, the Mediterranean diet gave you health benefits, irrespective of olive oil, because in spite of olive oil is not a health food. Oil is oil. It's a lot of calories. Did you know that a teaspoon has what? How many calories in it? About 150 calories in it? You're going to have to work on a treadmill for an hour and a half to burn that oil off? I don't want olive oil in my salad. I put vinegar and I put a little bit of balsamic vinegar. Is the best thing. That's it. All your salad dressings are made in a factory. They're terrible. Make your own dressing. Use as little oil as possible. Preferably just vinaigrette and balsamic oil. Yes, ma'am.
I have two questions. First, I love you, Dr. Jamnadas.
Thank you.
And my two questions that I've heard things about, and is honey okay for you? And what about bone broth?
Honey was the first part you said?
Yes, honey okay as a sweetener?
No, you see, honey is fructose. Honey is pure fructose, I'm sorry. So if you're going to have a little bit of drop here and there, okay, fine, and you're going to have it occasionally, it's okay, yeah. So, you know my turmeric drink that I tell people who are having inflammation in the body, back pains, they got severe backaches, or they have joint pains. I tell them take a hot turmeric water, put turmeric in it, and put a little bit of honey in it, because that takes away that pungent taste. So that's not going to harm the patient. You take a quarter teaspoon of, how much honey can you have? A quarter teaspoon. And I put some lemon in it and a sprinkle of black pepper in it, and they whip it down, and they find that the backs get better, the joints get better. So honey is not bad, but not every day and not a lot of it. So honey is fructose, just remember that. So a little bit is okay. And the second question
What about bone broth?
Oh, bone broth. I love bone broth, but not for myself because I'm a vegetarian. But for those who are not vegetarian, bone broth is okay. And why do I like bone broth? Bone broth has something special in it that changes your bacterial flora in your gut. And we haven't figured it out. But as soon as you eat bone broth, your immunity gets better. Definitely your immunity gets better. Your inflammation in your body goes down. Blood pressure comes down. Bone broth is very medicinal. You're feeling down, you're getting washed out, bone broth is fantastic. I don't do it because that's just something I just don't do, but no problem with it. You make it. I don't know the exact formula, but you can Google it and see how to make it. But bone broth, yes. That's the one meat product I have no problem with. You have a lady at the back with the hat?
Well, I'll be right there.
Can you talk just for a second about acidity and alkalinity levels in your system? I've never been able to get mine over 5.0.
The what level again?
Acidic.
Alkalinity and acidity levels, which are easy to test, but I'm finding it difficult to get over 5.0.
Okay, your urine must be alkaline. He can't get it alkaline, which means it may greater than 7. It means that his diet is very acidic, and most of that acid comes from meaty things and sugar. Two things generate the hydroxyl molecule, H+. H+ is generated through metabolism in sugar and meat. If you eat strictly vegetables, your urine will be definitely alkaline. There's no doubt about it. Your urine will be alkaline. So you have a problem. There's something that you're eating that's making your urine acidic. But 5, it is acidic. It's not the worst. I've seen 3s and 2s. Definitely watch the sugar, fructose, and anything that's animal protein is causing acidity in your body. That's all it is. Just more vegetables. You eat more vegetables, your urine becomes alkaline, you cannot crystallize stones in it. You clear away your uric acid stones, your oxalate stones, your calcium stones will all be gone. And alkalinity, you don't get cancer. You have cancer in your body, you need to alkalinize it. Drinking alkaline water is also helpful, by the way. Avoid all sodas, because that's nothing but pure phosphoric acid. Take a bone and put it in soda and see what happens to that bone. So that's another source of acid. Carbonated drinks. No carbonated drinks for you at all, because that's pure phosphoric acid.
What about boiling city water?
Boiling city water does not change its pH.
They tell us to boil the water every now and
Yeah, but that's because of bugs in it, so they probably have bugs in it. But it doesn't change the acidity of the water at all.
Two things, your comments on coconut oil and also grass-fed beef.
Okay, grass-fed beef is a joke. Because all the government is saying that you fed it grass. So if they ate grass one day a year, you can label it grass-fed. So what you need to look for is grass-finished meat. Got it? Grass-finished. That means that the cow ate grass from day 1 till the day it got slaughtered, right? Or grass-finished milk.
not just grass-fed. See, there's a lot of advertising problems. And the problem is because we don't have a good watchdog. They need a watchdog in the government, in the FDA, like me. So they're not grass-fed. Grass-fed. Second question was something she asked. Coconut oil, yes. So coconut, I do like coconut oil. Again, only a few drops of it. Just very little coconut oil to put on your wok, to make your stir fries, and to cook with a little bit of coconut oil. It's much. Now, there's two oils that burn at a high temperature. One is coconut doesn't break down, and ghee. Ghee is clarified butter, doesn't break down. Any other oil, if you put in a wok, or if you put it on your food and then you grill it, or you heat it very high and it fumes and all that, it's breaking. So if you're going to heat food very high, anything more than 220 degrees, use coconut oil, because it will not break down trans fats.
Doc, you mentioned grapefruit and grapefruit juice. Can you tell us, there are some dangers when you use it in combination with medicine?
Yes.
Is there a certain period, a gap, you can take it or not to take it?
Okay, grapefruit juice. Number one, I don't like any juices. Orange juice is not a health food. Grapefruit juice is not a health food. It has a very high glycemic index, number one. Number two, it's labeled as calcium. None of that calcium gets into your bloodstream. Vitamin D fortified. None of that vitamin D gets into your body. Folic acid. None of that gets into your body. OJ and grapefruit juice is a joke. If you want grapefruit, you need to eat the whole thing. Eat actual grapefruit. Number two is if you are taking cardiac medications, you need to separate them by a minimum of 6 hours, because you can enhance the absorption of certain medicines through if you have grapefruit juice on board. So don't get up in the morning and take grapefruit juice and cardiac medications. If you're going to have grapefruit juice, you should only have 4 ounces. That's it. Rather eat the grapefruit itself. It's got vitamin C in it. Yes, that's good. But all the other stuff, they add vitamin C to it. It's terrible. Milk, same thing. Did you know that the studies now show that girls who drink a lot of have higher incidence of osteoporosis and osteomalacia? So you want vitamin, you want strong bones? Don't drink milk. Go out in the sun for 15 minutes and have lots of vitamin D in your system, or take vitamin D tablets together with vitamin K2 tablets, and you have much stronger bones rather than milk. Milk is not a health food, definitely.
Doc, just one more question, and then they're about to chase us out, okay?
Dr. Jamnadas, how about Smart Balance or Benecol? Is it better than butter or?
Tough question. Smart Balance and Benecol, is that better than butter? Short answer is no, it's not better. It's man-made, and there's no studies done on it long-term. It may lower the cholesterol a little bit, but there are lots of things that can lower a little arsenic lowers your cholesterol too. So I don't know the answer to that. I prefer something natural. I know butter. I'd rather have a little bit of butter than have that.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Dr. Jamnadas. On behalf of the Galen Foundation and Dr. Jamnadas, we thank you all for attending, and have a safe ride home, and we'll see you around. Look for more of these to come out, and the attendance was great. We appreciate you being here. Thank you.